Hey guys, just finished watching Cloak and Dagger, Season 1, Episode 9, Backbreaker. Wow, what an episode. This really is a great season. I'm so glad it's been picked up for a Season 2, so it'd really be cool to see that. So we jump into this, we see Auntie Chantal is kind of walking around the streets, writing some kind of weird symbols on the streets, trying to pull up some protection, I guess, protecting the city or something. But it looks like she sees the Roxxon pipeline. And that's when I guess she kind of gives up her stint, and then that's when she walks back home, and she walks back to her place, and she's all drunk and stuff. She's been kind of spitting out the stuff, but so she's been drinking that bottle and stuff. And I think that's quite interesting with that. Was she, it looks like she was kind of in the middle of trying to protect the city by doing these signs all over the place. And did she just give up halfway through as soon as she saw the Roxxon stuff, realizing that, oh my god, it's too late. Even if I continue this, it's kind of not worth it. And so she decides, and because she did say it's up to them now. There's no one else who can do anything. She starts drinking and to take the edge off that. So I think that's an interesting idea, playing with that. And then we see Tandy burning. Find Tandy burning photos of her father and stuff because of finds out that he was beating his wife there, her mother. And that's when. And then later we see Tandy looking at a painting, and she's looking at a painting of Stan Lee and stuff. It looked like a really cool painting too. I'd love to get that painting. I wish whoever that painted that. I don't know if it's an actual commission they did just for the show, or if it's someone out there actually did this and they said, yeah, we'll throw it into this show, So I think it would be cool to see that, because that would be a really cool painting to own. I'd love to own that painting. It looked really cool. And then we see Tandy. We find out that Tandy can steal hopes. She's stealing hopes from different people, and she's using it like a drug instead of the pills. We see her taking more pills again, but it wasn't enough of a high, I guess. So she's learned to stealing people's hope, and she's kind of addicted to that now. And that's when Tyrone brings his parents, or they get called into the police department to talk about Billy's death, and the investigation's been open again into Connors. Now that the video is out there. And then that's when, but they don't believe that Tyrone is right, and they don't want to acknowledge it or anything. And it's when we find out that Mina Hess offers Tandy a job at Roxxon, but then Tandy just shaking her hand, steals her hopes, and leaves her kind of interesting what it leaves her, because at first I wasn't sure, when she does that, does it leave them kind of brain dead inside of there, or does it leave them kind of like an empty husk or something, what's an empty body without going on, but it kind of makes her, kind of empty inside and not really kind of no hopes at all, and just kind of all darkness and stuff. So I think that's quite interesting with that. And then if Tyrone can take away the darkness, what would be left of anyone, if they both did that to someone? That would be quite interesting to see that. Maybe they could do that to Scarborough later on in the last episode next week. So that'd be fun to see if they do that. It'd be quite cool. So we don't know if Tandy's going to take the job. I imagine she would, but there's only one episode left, so I don't think Roxxon's going to make it out of next week's episode. So we see Tandy bails out Liam from jail, which is kind of... I don't really like the character of Liam, and that their relationship is kind of interesting, but it's kind of annoying, because I really want Tandy and Tyrone to hook up as a couple. I really want that to be the comic book relationship that there was. If I'm not mistaken, they seem to me to be a couple or whatnot. So especially since they have to be together so much in the comics, Tandy, if she doesn't use her powers often enough, it ends up discharging out of controlly, and so she needs to use her powers for feel that it kind of builds up inside of her and kind of expels itself dangerously. So I think it could be cool to see them bring that in. And then the idea that she uses that to keep Tyrone in check from going full on to darkness with his powers, and his powers taking over him. So I think that's really going to be an interesting idea if they bring that into the last episode. And I feel like they could, even though they haven't set that up yet. It looks like in the next episode, based on the trailer, there are some scenes where they're kind of like merging their powers. So maybe once Tyrone's powers build up a little bit more, and they get a taste of combining their powers, maybe the side effects of that is that Tyrone's powers start to take over him as he gets more and more control and starts to dive deeper into that dimension that he kind of disappears into, because right now he only disappears himself. He's only been teleporting. He hasn't really done the classic comic book thing that he does where he absorbs bad guys and throws them into a dimension. I think that would be an interesting idea to play with that. I feel like they're not going to do that obviously in one episode left, but they didn't want to do it in this episode because something like that would be super CGI heavy. Have to build this, all kinds of sets just for that, and it would be kind of complicated to do a dark dimension like that, or at least to make it look good. I mean, they've done things like that on Legend of Tomorrow with some sort of dark dimensions, and not really as good. So I don't think Marvel would they wouldn't do that on this show. They want to do whatever they can to to make it look as good as possible, even with a smaller budget. So I really think it's going to be cool to see if they bring that into next season. Maybe bring it up, giving the show a little bit more of a another bump up in production, higher budget, a little bit more higher budget, just to do things like that. Just dive in a little bit for one episode into a Cloak absorbing the criminals and then spitting them back out, like leaving them in his dimension and he's able to absorb them and then spitting them out again, or even just the idea of kind of he touches, it looks like he will touch Connor in the next episode, touch Connor and then make him teleport and appear 20 feet in the air, so he falls down, type thing, and then higher again, and just make him teleport and teleport and teleport. That would be an interesting idea to see that. Maybe he teleport him to falling off of a skyscraper, 100,000 feet in the air, and then kind of the last second just teleport him down to like 2 feet, and boom, he falls, right? I think that cool idea would be quite interesting to see that. So it's really going to be fun to see where his powers kind of go and where they have these set up going into season 2. So we see Tandy bails out Liam from jail, and she tries to take his hopes. But then when Tyrone is actually touching the father, El Delgado's, and he's looking at his dark past where he was in a drunk driving accident, or he was the drunk driver. He was drunk driving and hit a car, and it looks like he killed a whole family. And so that's his dark past, and then Tyrone opens up a door in there. It ends up leading to Tandy's a vision quest thing with where she's taking Liam's hope, and I think that was an interesting idea, playing with that. That was really going to be cool to see that. And then we go to the bar where we see O'Reilly. She's been drinking, she's been losing it on this whole episode over Fetch's death and stuff, and not knowing where to go. She's at the bar for, I guess, his wake and stuff, and O'Connor's shows up there, and she attacks him, but then he just kind of attacks her back. It kind of just, hands her ass to her type thing, pretty much. So I think that would be quite interesting to see where things are going with that, because she wasn't able to take him on and stuff. So I think it would be cool to see, since she's mentioned so much Misty Knight, maybe even mentioned, and so she is from New York, we know that for sure. So that would be a cool idea if somehow we could get O'Reilly to get some training from Colleen Wing or Iron Fist. I doubt Iron Fist would be a thing that they would do, but I could see Colleen Wing would be an interesting idea to see that. Maybe if they ever did a Colleen Wing Misty Knight crossover or like show over on Netflix or something, where they could have maybe O'Reilly jump in for a few episodes here and there. That would be quite interesting to see that. Maybe they could get some training and stuff, because to get some actual fighting style to really take on. Because you think O'Connor's, that O'Reilly would be able to take on O'Connor's. She's as a cop in the from New York City, she would have had to prove herself a lot, and so now she's here. So I don't know. I just think it would be cool to see her get some training and train with. And train with Colleen Wing and stuff. Would be quite interesting to see that. I doubt we're going to see that, since this is on Freeform, that's Netflix and stuff. Don't see that really happening. They'd have to have a really good reason for her to go back to New York City if she left to come here. Why would you leave New York City? We're so busy, things must be going on all the time, to here, just because she wanted to become a detective, and that was where the opening is. So I don't know, I think it'd be interesting to see her go over there for a little bit and then come back. Maybe she's investigating something, and then here's a bit of a lead, and then goes there and then comes back. Who knows, could be quite interesting to see that. Maybe Misty and her could be on the same case, and that's where she decides to go up and help Misty out with a case for something, and that's when you have like a Misty Knight and Misty Knight and what's her? I can't think of her name. I just said her name, but have her get trained and stuff by Calling Wing. That's the name I was looking for. So really, I think it's going to be cool to see where things would go and how things are going to go with O'Reilly taking on Connors and stuff. But it'll be really interesting to see. She's going to have to learn a bit more to be able to take on, someone like Connors and eventually get the drop on him. So hopefully that's going to be cool to see where things go with that and how she learns from this. Just trying to attack him and kind of getting her ass handed to her. But it'll be cool to see where things go from here with that. Then Tandy tries to take. Tandy shows up at Tyrone's school because she's telling him to stay out of her head. And that's where she tries to take Evita's hopes, but she doesn't let her. So Evita, I guess she has some sort of, she's trained a little bit in the mystic voodoo stuff that her aunt is involved in. So she's able to to tell Tandy no and not let her take her hopes. And that's when she realizes that Tandy is the other half that goes to Tyrone's to protect her as the protectors, as the pairing, the divine pairing type thing. So I think that's really going to be cool to see where things go with that. And I don't know why she just upped and left like that. Yeah, it's Tandy and stuff. Maybe she didn't want to know Tandy, but she doesn't know. Evita doesn't really know who Tandy is, If she realized, oh yeah, you're the mean girl and all that stuff, damn it, you can't be that person. Why is it you? So you're the wrong person for that. I could get that idea, Tandy is not the right person. She's not really, she's stealing, a drug addict and all that stuff. And that's the other half that has to save the city type thing. Everything else, it's all on Tyrone and her. It's really not really hopeful. I get that. But at the same time, she doesn't, Evita doesn't really know Tandy personally. She doesn't know her personality or anything. So I really don't understand as to why she left like that. And then we do see her at the end of the episode kind of making a wax figure of her and stuff. So we'll see where things go with that. If those become into play, but it's just kind of weird why she didn't just stay there and just kind of explain to the two of them, hey, yeah, you're the two, you're destined for this, that, there's a prophecy, blah, 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 and, start saying a little bit so they can bring the two of them to see her auntie, and then they could explain the whole story, and they could go inside of auntie's memories and read the whole story and to see the proof of it. And I think that would be quite an interesting idea to play with that. It feels like there could have been an episode where they could have done that, is the two of them, together learn their destiny or whatever by touching Auntie Chantel and going inside of her memories and kind of playing and reading all of that stuff, just like they did with Ivan Hetz. That would have been an interesting episode here. So we see that, and then that's where she takes off instead of kind of trying to explain anything to her, explain to either of them, and then Mina, and then we see Mina going to the pipeline. And her phone rings, and I thought immediately that was Tandy calling for her to get the job and stuff. But we see that she's going out to the pipeline, and she sees some workers there, and it's when it gets breaks and stuff, or it starts leaking and they get infected, just like in Ivan Hetz's memory, in his nightmare type thing. So they start getting affected, and that's when we start. That's where we leave off with her getting attacked by these zombies-like creatures. So I imagine that Mina Hetz is probably dead, unless she had a gun on her or something. We'll see if she survives it, but it looks like she's most likely dead. And then we see that Tyrone, he's framed for the killing of Fitch when the police show up at his place. We don't really see how he was framed. The police just show up at his place as he's the suspect for killing Fitch, which kind of makes no sense. I don't know why they decided to put it on him, because it was his brother that was killed. So why would he go and kill the one of the cops that was helping him? Prove that his brother was killed by a Connors. That doesn't, to me, that doesn't make sense. Whoever, Connors probably wants to get him get him off of his trail and put him away. And if he puts him in prison, then all the stuff against Connors gets dropped. I get that idea, but at the same time, whoever he's like, yes, here's the proof that Tyrone is the person who killed Fitch. Someone needs to look at that and go, really, the kid, who's been saying for the past 8 years, you're the one that his brother was killed. kills the cop that was one of the cops that were trying to help him. It makes no sense in that idea. So I don't understand how, how did it got into that? No one looked into this whole situation. So it seems a bit too easy. We need to see how the Tyrone was kind of framed. I wish they kind of showed us exactly what was used to frame. Like maybe there's some sort of thing that was put out there so that it wouldn't look so suspicious that, obviously why would the kid who's trying to prove that his brother was murdered by a cop kill the cop that was one of the only two people that was trying to help him, and the one who was actually filming the whole thing. So I really don't understand. To me, it doesn't make sense as to whoever got the proof. What is the proof? We need to see that to see what it really is that makes Tyrone. That's undeniable proof that Tyrone was the one that killed Fitch. That would send in the SWAT team. They would send all that stuff, not just because they don't know about his powers. The only person who knows about his powers is Fetch, who's dead. Connors, but he kind of thinks he's crazy, although he doesn't now know that it's kind of our powers. And O'Reilly. So O'Reilly didn't tell anyone, and Connors is not going to wouldn't tell anyone about the powers. That would just sound too crazy. So I think the idea that they're sending in the tactical unit type thing for Tyrone, for just one rich kid, a privileged kid, type thing. Like he's just gonna confess. It would have made more sense if they just sent in a regular detective or a regular cop type thing, but maybe 3 or 4 of them, so that if he tries to run, they can run after him, but not a whole, like squad, like a whole, the SWAT team of like 10, 20 guys just for one person like that. Yeah, there might be some stuff that they might not want to grab him or whatever, but it just seems a bit overkill to send that in unless they have proof or something that makes him seem more bigger of a threat than he actually is. The proof that says, yes, Tyrone, that convinced people high up in the police department that, yes, Tyrone killed Fetch type of thing. So I think that would be cool to see that evidence, and hopefully we get to see that at the beginning of next week's episode, because it just leaves me kind of just, what, why, how, what makes him that? Just doesn't make sense to looking into that as to how that was kind of put together like that. And then we see, we find Tandy goes back to her place to see her mother, and she finds the woman, the hit woman who killed Greg. I think, was it Greg at the beginning of the 1st or 3rd episode? Yeah, I think it was Greg, and that's when we see him is shot. Was it Greg? Yeah, Greg. Well, the lawyer Greg, who was Tandy's mother's boyfriend. He was looking into her father's death and stuff, and he got shot by the hit woman. She's there at Tandy's mother's place, about to shoot her mother, and that's when the episode ends with Tandy about to throw out her knives, and that would be cool. So it's really going to be cool to see her using her powers in this episode and changing up the different type of daggers. Hopefully she can use one that's kind of a really small one, right? So she doesn't hit her mother, and not a too big of one that's going to be a little bit harder to aim with. Maybe a real tiny one that's just the size of a thick toothpick type thing, and then just be able to throw that at speeds that would be bullet-like speeds and be able to stop her from shooting. And then it'd be cool to see how she does that, how fast, and when she's able to throw it that fast, how accurate is she, and is she able to, if she wanted to, could she shoot the hit woman in the wrist, you know what I mean, stopping her from being able to use her wrist type thing, blowing off her hand type thing, or would she just shoot her in the head? How really accurate is she going to be with that? How fast is it? That would be cool to see all that stuff, and to see how things go with that in the next episode. I'm assuming we're going to pick right up with that, and then maybe go into Tyrone after, and pick right up with her mother about to be shot, because yes, Tyrone's running from the police, but she's has a bullet to her mother's head. So I think that's really going to be cool to see that, and to see if her mother dies throughout this. Part of me kind of wants her mother to die, just because it would destroy Tandy even more, and to see her rise up from that even more would be quite interesting to see that. So we'll have to wait and see where things go with that. But I have a feeling that if her mother would die, I could see her maybe surviving from this hit woman and then dying later on at the end of the episode instead of dying at the first beginning of the episode. I feel like if they were going to kill her off, they would have killed her off at the end of this episode rather than at the beginning of next episode. Although maybe because of that, they might kind of flip it on its head and kill her at the beginning of that episode. So we'll have to wait and see where things go with that. But I think it would be cool to see that. I kind of would like to see her mother die. But at the same time, don't want her. So it's like 50-50 on if she dies or not. Just because it would really break Tandy to see her die again, to watch another one of her parents die, and to see what that would do with her going after Roxanne and stuff. So I think that's really going to be cool to see where things go with that, and to see how things kind of connect all around with Tyrone and Tandy and Connors and Roxanne. Because right now there's like no connection other than the fact that Tyrone's mother works for Roxanne. But other than that, there's like no connection between Connors and Roxanne. And hopefully they could put one in the next episode. But so far at this point, they're not gonna have enough time to make a proper connection. That it's like it's too coincidental when they always have to force a connection like this. And so at this point, I'd rather them not have it than put in a forced connection. So let me know what you think, guys, about this episode in the comments below. Season 1, Episode 9, Backbreaker of Cloak and Dagger. And I will see you guys in the next video, which should be my Mission Impossible review tonight. So I'll be watching that tonight, and you can check out my video. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
I'm Captain America, here to talk to you about one of the most valuable traits a soldier or student can have.
Subscribing.
Sometimes subscribing is the key to victory. Sometimes it leads to very little, and it seems like it's not worth it. And you wonder why you waited so long for something so disappointing. How many more of these?
You're still here.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Peace.
It's over.